All right, here we go. Thanks for checking out this video. This is Gauge Reality, and I wanted to invite you guys to view this video because I always have this thing when I go to the gun store and I'm looking at guns, and it never fails. Every time I go in to look at some guns or I'm handling business or whatever, right? There's always like a couple that comes into the store and they have no idea what they're looking at. They kind of got an idea. Everybody said, "Oh, I want to get a Glock." They don't even they don't even know why they want a Glock, right? They're just trying to get a Glock because they think that's. Hold on one second. They think it's a name brand. It's a popular brand. You know, it's like Mercedes Benz or Chevrolet. Everybody knows what those automobiles are, right? So, all right, you want to go and get a Glock or whatever, and they go through the whole process or whatever, and typically it's the guy telling the lady things about the gun. Uh, oh, they all shoot. Just get $100 gun, a $200 gun, or whatever the cheapest gun is. They're all good or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, okay, all right, fine." Just, she'll go buy the gun. Then you have those other situations where people go into the store, they're trying to get a gun, and it's a guy. The gun is for him, and it's obvious, but he's there with a lady, and she's asking all the questions, but he's whispering in her ear, and they're trying to do a straw purchase, basically. And it's like, it's ridiculous because do you really want to go to prison? Do you really want to go to jail? Like, that's the fastest way to go to jail, and it's a federal offense. Like, some people think, oh, I didn't know that was a law, or I was ignorant to the law, right? And they're working these things out in their head, and they think that just because I say I didn't know what the law was, I should not be guilty of a crime, right? But you know it's illegal because you legally can't buy the gun. That's why you have somebody in the store trying to get the gun for you, right? Or it'd be a situation where they walk in with a fake ID or an expired ID trying to get a gun. And that's like, oh, well, let me come right back. And they say, well, my wife in the car, because she's just going to get it. And you're putting the gun store clerk in a situation where they could lose their job or get locked up. So it's crazy. People are crazy, and they don't care what the consequences are for you as long as they get what they need. Like, um, it was a rapper, Kodak Black, a few years ago. Um, it was one of his federal offenses he was prosecuted for, and I think President Trump pardoned him for it. You can fact check me on that, but he went into the gun store, lied on the 4473 form, um, saying that he was not a convicted felon, because they asked these questions, and he lied. And so there was like a time frame where he can go back get the gun. He went back, got the gun. So he got the gun, but he lied on the application, which is a federal offense. You can go to prison for that, right? So anyway, I'm doing this video for the people who are legal citizens that can legally own a firearm and pass a background check, because um, there's a lot of people who think that if you get a gun, you have to be law enforcement or military or a job in the government, or you're just a criminal. Like, a lot of people honestly think that you have to be a criminal or in the government to have a gun. They don't even know that if you're a upstanding citizen, you can go and purchase a firearm, at least in Georgia, right? So anyways, um, it's easy, right? Like, here in Georgia, if you just want to get a concealed carry, we don't have to go through any classes or pay all these training fees. You just pay for the license, do a background check, and they'll send you a license in some counties less than 10 days. Um, and then you take that into whatever retail establishment you want to purchase your firearm from, and they'll go through the process. You still have to fill out the form, but the thing is, you don't have to wait for that form to come back from uh, the ATF, FBI ATF, but it's the FBI checking it. So you can just take it home, right? Um, you know, Now it does ask you a lot of questions, and we're going to go over that form. Like some states like California, they have like a cool off period to where you have to, like, if you go in, you see a gun you want, you pay for the gun. When you do the form, you pay for the gun. You can't leave with it. You have to wait, right? Multiple days before you can actually get your gun. So let's say, for instance, you were in a relationship with someone, the relationship ended on a bad note. The person that you thought you loved, now you fear for your life. And you said, well, you know what? Maybe this can of mace that I've been carrying for 2 years is not going to stop this person. Maybe the little knife that I have in my pocket is not going to stop this person. Maybe I should go get a firearm. So you go get a firearm. You want to go get a firearm to protect yourself, but you can't take it home. And then that night or the next night, that person come and they get violent with you, right? These things have happened. And maybe you make it, maybe you don't. But here in Georgia, okay, you had a situation that happens. You go get your firearm. Now you can um, have a firearm that can neutralize the situation and you can protect yourself. Now that's that conversation. Obviously, there are people that say, well, what about the other person who want to get the gun to go harm somebody? Well, I mean, if they can pass a background check, um, then, or they already have a CCW, I mean, yeah, it's their right, just like it's your right to do the same thing. So I think it should be an even playing field. But, anyways, taking people into the gun store to buy a gun for you or any type of firearm for you is illegal. Like, uh, people go to jail for that, prison, and it's not cool. So, one of the things I wanted to do, I wanted to go over the form, and this is the. Let me pull it up real quick. Let's see. All right, so this is the form right here. This is the 4473, and you can get this right off of the ATF website, atf.gov. You don't have to print it and fill it out and then take it into the store. I highly advise you not to do that because it's supposed to be filled out in front of the retail associate that's selling you your firearm, right? And so, with that said, they're gonna cover a couple things. Basically, this is the firearms transaction record. Now, I will say, in the United States, we do not have a national database to record all firearm sales, but we kind of do. So it's kind of like a gray area. So when you fill out this form, it stays um, at that retailer for, I want to say 7 years, and it may be on here. It may be on here, but they keep it for 7 years, and then I think after 7 years they can dispose of it, or they may have to keep it forever. I don't know, but um, I'm not a firearms retailer. I don't sell guns, but retain discontinuing of business. Paper forms over 20 years of age may be stored at a separate, over 20 years. That's crazy. So they have to keep these for a very long time, right? So, think about it. In 2025, February 2025, you go buy a firearm. And I keep using the word firearm and not gun, right? But you buy it and you take it home. This is your gun. You put it in the safe. It's there. If someone you don't plan on carrying it out of the house. You're just gonna keep it in the house. You put it in the safe. All right, and it's there for 6 months. You go on vacation to Cancun. 10 days later, you come back. Guess what happens? Your home has been burglarized. That safe that you bought to keep the gun away from children and other people, they stole the whole safe. Now your gun is gone. You have to do a police report. You do the police report, you find your receipt. You're going to say, oh, okay, I bought that gun from Academy Sports and Outdoors. Here's the serial number. They're going to do a report, file it. And now, either, I don't know what kind of home insurance you may have. They may compensate you for it or whatever, but you're out of a gun, right? 2026 is January 3rd, 2026 now. People like to go out and do all kind of crazy stuff for the new year. Shootings. It was just a shooting in Lawrenceville, Georgia, where an Uber driver was shot in the back, suspectedly shot in the back by a 15-year-old male. It's truly sad, and hopefully, condolences to his family, and I hope they're able to grieve in the proper way. But uh, you know, that guy is 15 years old. He's not legally able to purchase a gun, right? Where did he get it from? He probably broke into someone's house, stole their gun, and went and killed a Uber driver, right? So when they get that gun from that murder, they're gonna run ballistics. They're gonna either run ballistics at their headquarters, whatever police department or sheriff station, or they're gonna send it off to the local state agency, which here in Georgia is the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigations, or they'll send it to the ATF or FBI. Someone's gonna do ballistics on that gun and figure out, was this the same gun that murdered this gentleman? They're going to also run the serial number. Okay, this gun was made by XYZ manufacturer. They're going to go to that manufacturer and say, hey, who did you sell the gun to? They're going to say, okay, but the serial number, if it's still on the gun, we sold it to Academy Sports and Outdoors. Then they're going to go to Academy and say, who did you sell it to? Oh, I sold it to Johnny Silver in February of 2025. Guess what? They're going to come knock at your door. When they come knock at your door and be like, hey, that gun you own was involved in a murder. We need to see it. No, they're going to say we need to see it. They're going to say, where were you on this night, day, and time, right? And then they're going to say, okay, then you're going to say, I reported it stolen over a year ago. Here's the police report. All right, so now you're in the clear. You was nowhere in the area, you reported stolen, now you're in the clear. So that's the whole purpose of why they do this 4473, to just be able to track down that firearm if it's in some type of crime, or if it's lost, right? Let's get it back to its owner. Um, in those situations, um, one of the things, people who are pro gun, they don't like it because of mass confiscation, coming to take our firearms. So, that is another talking point. We're not going to cover that today. But, anyways, right, here's the form. And so you're going to come down and you don't fill out this part right here, but they're going to ask you to, do your full name, answer all these questions. Oh no, right here, line 9. Answer all these questions: height, date, where were you born, all that good stuff, ethnicity. And they're always revising this. This actually was revised, I think, in 2024 or 2025. They revised it because they're always asking stuff like, when they first came out with this form, I believe in the 60s, it didn't have ethnicity on it and stuff like that. Then they've revised it to add marijuana use, right? Like I think it's somewhere on here about marijuana use is on one of these lines. Here it is. F. Are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, right? So you got to let them know that stuff, right? So um people answering that uh, truthfully, I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of people like here in the state of Georgia. It's not legal to smoke marijuana or consume marijuana. Like I think for CBD it might be, or some other form, but you have to have like a medical card and have like some severe um, you know uh, disease. But like in other states like Colorado and in California and Nevada, that's a thing, right? So that's why they say unlawful. But yeah, you go through it, and then of course they always ask. It's like the first question. Are you the legal? Will you be the legal owner of this firearm? So they want to know that stuff, right? So you need to be prepared to fill this out, right? And hell, they don't even want to know if you're an alien, right? So I do know. I think if you are I know I'm going to say it wrong. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen to purchase a firearm in the United States. Like if you have a green card, or you've been like, I think it's naturalized, or for sporting events, I think they have some type of leniency on that. But if you're an illegal immigrant, then yeah, you can't go into a store and try to buy a gun, right? Um, yeah, I think it says right here, are you an alien who has been admitted to the United States under a non-immigrant visa? Okay. So they have their whole section right there, right? So that's another reason why a lot of people want to come to the United States, because I mean, we just give you uh rights off the bat. You know what I'm saying? Like uh all these countries, Ukraine, the UK. Looks like this journalist from the UK was here in the United States on vacation, or he was doing like a story, a piece or something like that. And he went to a gun range and shot guns. He didn't buy a gun. He was just shooting for sport. And he got on a plane, went back to the UK, and they arrested him for shooting guns in the United States, right? He didn't bring any guns back with him. He was just doing it. So that's wild to me, but it is what it is. But anyways, let's go to a store, right? So I have a couple stores here. I have all right, hold on. Let me change my screen real quick. All right, so I have Academy Sports and I have Cabela's. So we're gonna go to Academy Sports first, right? So this is finding your gun online first, and then go to the store. Hopefully, you look at one of my reviews on my YouTube channel, see a gun you like, and then come to one of these stores. You're gonna have, these are big box stores, right? Like Cabela's, Bass Pro Shop, Academy. Bass Pro Shop and Cabela's, they're sister companies. They're under the same umbrella, right? So their prices are gonna typically be about the same, but they run different promotions sometimes. Academy, I don't think they have anyone under their umbrella, but Academy is huge. They sell a ton of guns. And surprisingly, Walmart still sells shotguns. Walmart said they were gonna get away from selling, I think, rifles. I don't think they ever sold handguns, but I know they sold rifles and shotguns. But I was in a Walmart maybe 2 years ago and saw some shotguns. So that's still a thing. But anyway, Academy's good. They always have good deals. You come here, go to the drop down, um, firearms and ammo, and then, whatever you want, handgun, rifle, shotgun, right? So they're not going to sell um, a lot of um, like that gun right here, that pistol. So that is a Anderson lower and a Bear Creek Arsenal upper, but Bear Creek Arsenal will sell the full unit, but they're a smaller company out of North Carolina. Academy doesn't want to do a deal with them. Academy is all about volume. So like Academy is going to sell something like, this Stoger Condor or the Savage Access. Well, no, this is the Savage 22. Where's my Savage? All right, Savage Access up there, right? They're going to sell stuff like that. So they're going to deal with manufacturers who can handle the volume. So anyway, let's look for a 9mm. And, if you're starting out trying to get a firearm, I'm going to be honest with you. If you live in the inner city, even if you live somewhere rural, I would always recommend just get some variation of a 9mm. Now, if you live in the mountains or you live in on the prairie somewhere, or I might recommend like a 40 caliber or maybe even a 10mm or a 45, because you'll be dealing with larger animals. But a 9mm, my thing is, there's a lot of guys out here still carrying 40 and 45, and I just wonder why, right? Like, okay, that's cool to keep around the house, but to carry it, 45s, you're sacrificing um, capacity, right? Like if this gun right here, this Springfield Hellcat, I mean, this thing probably just at minimum, you might be able to get 10 rounds in this thing. I know they have the extended magazines here. They got a pretty good deal on that. But let's see, 17 round magazines and 115 round. So okay, so at minimum, you're gonna be able to get 15 rounds in here, right? For this same size gun, If it was a 45, you might be able to get 8 to 10 rounds in there, right? So you're gonna go down 8 to 10. You're gonna lose what, 6 rounds? Let's say 6 rounds, right? Just to say, oh, I have a 45, right? Now, with that 10 rounds you get in your 45 versus the 15 in this nine, that 45 still may be heavier than this nine. So you're carrying a heavier gun with less bullets for what? For nothing. So just get the nine. And these ballistic tests from the FBI, a lot of these companies are showing that um, the knockdown, the takedown power of these 9 millimeters with the technology that they have now are the same or superior to a 45, right? But carry whatever you want. I don't care. I'm just telling you, um, do what makes sense, and it just doesn't make sense to carry a heavier gun with less rounds. Um, and it may not even have the takedown power that you're looking for. Because like even the ammo for these 9 millimeters, they're way more versatile than the ammo in the 45, right? So I mean, whatever. That's a conversation. So anyway, what I like to do is come on these pages. I'll come to the top. I'm looking for my gun. So let's say Academy, they have 1,021 firearms in the 9 millimeter pistol category, right? So as you can see, some of these guns are going to come with barrels, threaded barrels, so you can put your silencer or suppressor on there. Some are going to just come bone stock, like your Glock right here. Some are going to come with a gun light. I always recommend, if you're going to get a gun, get a Picatinny rail right here, so you can throw your light on there. Especially if you're going to carry it. And so, you know, that's kind of how you want to do it. You can throw hearts on there, but obviously they want you to create a account if you're going to do that. So anyway, I like to filter these things. Um, number one, you don't want to filter it for your store. But let's see, I don't want Glock, I don't want Canic. Let's say we're looking for a Beretta. No, we're not gonna do Beretta. Let's do price. All right, what's your budget for the gun that you want to buy, right? You know, I don't know where $200 came from, but years ago, people just started saying $200, and when I talk to people, that's the first thing they say is, I don't know, $200. I'm like, that's crazy, right? I mean, they obviously don't know. They're not knowledgeable of what gun prices are, but you're gonna put $200 to save your life. I mean, well, that's crazy. But it's not bad. You can up it. I will do a minimum of $500 and a maximum of $800. That's still gonna put you in a range of a lot of firearms. And then let's see, let's do that. We'll come back. So we just went from 1,021 guns to 287 guns, right? And I can't believe they've moved some stuff around because they used to have more options here. So let's narrow that a little bit more. Actually, I'll keep 800 and let's boost it up to 600. Let's take out some more guns. Damn, I'm still at 287. Let's go to rating. Oh no, it didn't update. Let's see, 600, 800. Okay. All right, so we got that, and then we'll do a rating. We want at least 4 stars. All right, so let's apply that. All right, so 48 guns. Okay, so that's pretty good. So if you get paid every 2 weeks, right? And let's say, for instance, you can take $100 from every paycheck. So that's gonna be $200 a month that you're gonna save up for a gun. So in 3 months or 4 months, let's just go ahead and let's go ahead and just say 5 months, you're gonna save up and have enough for the gun that you want, at least 2 boxes of ammunition, 1 box for to train, excuse me, to get you started on training, and the 1 box for carry ammo, because your carry ammo should be different from your training ammo, right? But you still should train with your carry ammo too, but we're just trying to get you started. So um, don't get so bogged down on the semantics. All right. I like to do high to low. You can do low to high, but if you do high to low, you'll see the more expensive handguns first, and you just get them out of the way, right? So you got some good stuff. You got the SIG P365. I'm not a big fan of Sig Sawyer. You have a lot of these military guys. They love Sig, right? For whatever reason. Sig is a good company. They've been making firearms for a very long time. They have had a lot of negative publicity here lately from firearms, just their guns, um, just not doing what you expect them to do. So I don't own a Sig. I've shot multiple Sig Sauer handguns over the years, and they shoot well, but I wouldn't recommend getting a Sig. Right? You have an H&K, so they have a H&K Heckler and Koch CC9, and it comes with a red dot optic already installed. That's looks like a hollow sun. Let's look at that real quick. So that looks like a hollow sun. It is a hollow sun. That's um, the 407K. So that's a good red dot optic. I will tell you that um, if you're not used to shooting, having a red dot optic may not be the best way to go. First off, but if you learn how to shoot with a red dot from the beginning, I think you'll be okay, right? Like I I started shooting with just your iron sights, your normal sights here, right? And then when I transitioned to a red dot, it was really, really hard to make that transition. I will say, if you do buy this gun, you really want, you really should have your, um, you really should have your iron sights right here co-witnessing with the red dot. So like this sight should be up a little bit higher to co-witness with the dot inside of this casing here, right? Um, so basically, yeah, they put the red dot on the gun, but they didn't update the sights. Some guys don't like that. Some guys don't want to co-witness their sights with the red dot, which is fine. I like to have a co-witness, but whatever. It has this little hinge dingy type of trigger here. Um, I've never shot this gun before, but I will definitely say that it's probably a good gun. So, anyways, let's go get back out of here. We got, oh, let's see if I can get that back. All right. Then we have Smith and Wesson, and this is gonna be kind of like in the top echelon of what Smith and Wesson offers. Um, Kind of sorta is, yeah, it's a performance center. So that PC means that performance center. So these are the guns that they put a little extra effort into to make sure that it's a higher quality firing gun. If you see, it has the serrated front of the slide, the serrated rear of the slide. They used to call them fish scales. I don't know what they call them now, but that these work very well for trying to um, grab the gun and pull the slide back or do press checks to make sure that that you're loaded or not. But it also has a little open area in the slide where you can see the bullet in the chamber, just to make sure that that you're that it is chambered and is loaded. Um, these holes right here, these are what they call porting. The slide and this barrel is probably ported. Most of the performance center guns back in the day always came ported. And porting the gun, it makes it louder, but it also makes sure that the gun shoots flat. So people always talk about recoil. So when you pull the trigger, the recoil will lift the muzzle of the gun, and then you got to get back on target and shoot it again. Well, this porting will make sure that the gun shoots flat, so you don't have to worry about the gun jumping, right? Um, so they put a lot of effort into this gun. These triggers, these performance center triggers, are really nice triggers. I'm a big Smith and Wesson fan. So right here, we can see the top of the slide. So where I was talking about where you could see if you're chambered or not, it's going to be right on that little opening there. It's kind of hard for me. Oh, there it is. Right in this little opening right here. Okay. And then you can also put a red dot on this gun, remove these two screws, and you can put a red dot on here. Right. And then also what I was talking about with the sights, Smith and Wesson has given you suppressor height sights, right? So you see how these sights are much taller than the sights that were on the H&K. So that way you can co-witness with the red dot. So like I said, Smith and Wesson did a great job with this gun. The performance center guns are always great. And then they also have a cutout in the top of the slide right here, and that's going to reduce the weight of the gun. They call it a mass reduction. So taking mass out of the slide to reduce the weight. And then of course you can see the porting on the top side of the gun of the slide right here. So basically it makes the slide much lighter. So it's gonna get back into action much faster. It makes carrying the gun lighter. Then they give you a rail right here to, I said Picatinny earlier, it's 1913 rail. So rail right here to put your light on. And yeah, this is really nice gun, and I would definitely recommend that. And it looks like it's a hot deal. They're out of stock um, at that store. That's Autofield there. We don't have a lot of academy sports in Georgia. They're like really spread out. Um, Shadow Systems. Shadow Systems a good company. They have this gun here, $7.99. These are all $7.99. All right, so we see what you can get at the top end of um, the list. Then they have the Shadow System guns. They're good. Canic. So you have the Canic Mate here. I don't know if it's Mate or Checkmate. I thought it was called Checkmate. Maybe Checkmate is another type of Canic, but this is a Mate. Me personally, I love buying these guns with these kits. So this comes with a carrying box. You have a magazine holster. You're gonna get different back straps. Back to the Smith and Wesson, they always give you back straps with the Smith and Wesson. What these back straps are is if you have a small hand or a medium sized hand or a large sized hand, you can change it out on the back of the strap of the gun to fit your hand better. And they're gonna give you a holster. Sometimes you go out here, some of these guys they're charging, 60, 70, $100 just to give you a holster, right? Then they're gonna give you a hollow sun optic, um, some cleaning material here. I mean, whatever, that's trash. But I mean, for 780 bucks, that's a hell of a deal, right? And buy with your Academy card, you're gonna save even more money, right? So I would definitely buy this gun. I've never owned a Canic, and actually, we call it Canic here in the United States. The gun is made in Turkey, so in Turkey, that C is enunciated as a J. So really, they call them Janik in Turkey. So um, depending on who you're speaking to at a gun store, if you say, "Hey, I'm looking for a Janik," if you got a smart guy behind the counter or a lady, they'll know what you're talking about. But if you say Janik, I don't know, somebody may not know what you're talking about, but it's really pronounced Janik. So let's get out of here. Let's look and see what else we have. I want to get to the bottom of the barrel here. Let's just go all the way down. And there's so many good guns in this $600 to $800 range. So many good guns. Got Beretta. So this PX4 Storm compact Beretta. That's a cool gun. I think this has a rotating barrel in it. I've shot one before. Super cool gun. And if you see how like it kind of looks a little lower, they call that the low bore access or whatever. It looks real lower than all these other guns. They're kind of top heavy. This is kind of bottom heavy. And so they kind of do that to reduce the recoil of the gun when you shoot it. And it's a rotating barrel. I think this is a rotating barrel. That's a cool gun. It looks much different than all these other guns here. Let's go to page 2. I really want to see what's at the bottom of the barrel. All right, so let's see. All right, so when you get down to um, the $600 range, a lot of these guns are going to be single stacked subcompact micro nines, right? And so what that means is that okay, on the upper end with the $800 guns, those are going to be double stacked, right? So your double stacked handguns are going to have more capacity, like 17, 15, 21, um, a capacity of 21 or whatever. I would drop that shit. All right, just made a big mess. Sorry about that. So this is a Beretta magazine, and that's 17 rounds, right? So 17 rounds. This is 9, and then this is a Smith and Wesson Shield magazine, and this is 9. Well, this has a capacity of 8, and this has a capacity of 17, right? So obviously, well, not obviously, but predictively, this gun is going to be a little bit more than this gun. This gun right here, the Shield, I think typically sells in that $400 to $500 range. Well, all right, so that's the easy. Let me see the Shield. They don't even have the Shield on this list, but I think the Shield typically sells for 500, maybe 5 to right under 6. So these EZ, if you see this, the Smith and Wesson Performance Center EZ shield. So shield is kind of like the name, and then it has different ones under that umbrella. But this is a performance center, so this is going to be Gucci'd out, and then this is going to be a regular. Well, that has a laser on it. Unless you need glasses or contacts, I don't really recommend lasers, right? But to each his own. Buy whatever you want to buy. Oh yeah, here it is. Shield Plus. All right, so the price is going up. Is the Shield Plus? They came out about 3, maybe 4 years ago. And this is an updated version of the Shield, and it's $600, right? Well, this is a performance center, so I think once we get out of the $600 minimum, we'll see what the Shield really sells for. Because I think about $500 you can get a Shield. So this gun is Gucci'd out. It's a performance center. It has the ported barrel. It has the fiber optic sights, right? And it has the fish scale serrations here. I love Shield. I mean, I've had a Shield for years. It has this kind of flat facing dingy trigger, and it works too, right? Like, it feels really good when you're shooting it. This gun does come with a kit, a flashlight, and a knife, and a carrying bag, so that's pretty cool. And so for $600, you get a Gucci'd out Smith and Wesson Shield. Now, I think these plus are probably going to be a 10 round. No, actually 13 plus one. Now, yeah, okay. So the normal magazine is 10 rounds. But if you get the extended magazine, it goes up to 13 rounds. The original Shield was only 8 rounds, right? Which I was fine with that. I didn't care. I mean, these Shields are awesome guns, but those are great guns to buy. But back to my point, when you get to the $600 range, the price goes down, but that's a completely different category of gun. So really the way you want to look at it is you're gonna have full size handgun, right? Which is gonna typically be like 4.5 inch long slide up to like 5 inches. And then you're gonna have compact, which is typically like 4.2 inches down to like 3.9, right? Maybe 4 inches. And then you're gonna have subcompact, which is like three. Here, let me see where's the subcompact Smith and Wesson. See how long this is probably a 3.5 inch barrel here. Survey says, geez, give me a break. Come on now. 3.6 inch barrel. I'm pretty good at this. So, anyways, so that's going to be a subcompact, and then you're going to have micro nine, right? So, micro nines are going to be much smaller barrels. So, like a Smith and Wesson CXX, um, that is. See if I can find that gun. I just saw it. Well, nah, just look at this one. This SIG right here, the P9 938. This has a 3 inch barrel. Yeah, so 3 inch barrel is gonna be where you're gonna be in that micro nine territory, right? Um, So you got different categories. So the size of the gun is what's gonna typically matter for the price. The capacity of the guns typically what's gonna matter on the price. The special editions that they do to the gun, are they gonna Gucci it out? The price of it is just gonna get a basic gun. If they give you like one of these little kits here, that's gonna matter. So those are things you want to look at, and then you grab it. Here, let's do this guy here. It's a SIG. I'll tell you all the discounts. It's out of stock. All right, so let's go back to my filter real quick. And I typically only do in stock on my searches. But sometimes they want to ping you down to a location, but it looks like a location is already in there. So, all right, let's do this gun real quick. All right, so we got it. I agree. I think all this is just talking about, hey, you got to be able to pass a criminal background check, be of age. It's got to be for you. All that jargon I was telling you earlier. Store pickup, ship to store. Oh, and you can finance it. Don't finance your guns unless you just really need to. Boom. And then put in all your information, proceed to checkout. Now, this is the thing. A lot of people think once they do this process, they can just walk in the store, show their ID, and then the store is going to just give them the gun. No, you still have to do a background check, right? This is just making it easier for you to see all these features and benefits online, to make the buying experience better. Okay. That's all that's what that's for. That's all that means, right? So the thing is that you may see a gun online that they may not have in stock. So you can go, boom, put it in your cart, buy it, and then they'll ship it to the store and you can go pick it up, versus you getting in your car, going all the way down to the store and say, hey, I'm looking for that Sig Sawyer P938. And they were like, well, we don't have it. You said, well, I saw it online. Well, we don't have it in stock. But had you gone through the process online, you could have just had it shipped there. So this is Cabela's, pretty much the same thing. I'll log in here. I'll go to shooting, the shooting category, view all guns, same situation. And then they want to ask you, centerfire rifles, shotguns, rimfire pistols, rimfire rifles, used guns, right? So that's one benefit that Cabela's and Bass Pro does. They will show used guns on their website, right? So that's another topic I wanted to get into, was the used guns. Those are options, but I just want to look at Cabela's real quick. Let me see. 630 guns, Lawrenceville, Georgia. All right, available only. So on the 600 guns, they have 139. No, 407 in stock. No, 169 in stock. Keeps changing. Oh, maybe these are the handguns that are in stock, but that 400 would include the shotguns and the rifles. All right, so we're gonna look for some nines. Let's look for a nine. They had 124 nines. And even as you can see on this list, out of damn, what's that total number again? Let me see here. Out of out of 169 handguns, 124 of them are 9mm. right? So even with that said, why are you carrying 38 special or 40 or 45? Carry whatever you want, but it's just that 9 millimeter is just so much easier. And they're making these nines now to and look at that, 23, $2,400 to give you the capacity, to give you the knockdown power. All right, so now let's do our price. So the way they do theirs, oh no, I can still put it in. All right, so yeah, so boom, here we are, and I will come on here. I will price check Cabela's, and then I'll go back to Academy. And I know back in the day they would do price matching. I don't think they do, these companies do price matches anymore. Um, it is what it is. COVID really changed a lot of things, but here you are. All right, so now let's get back to it. We're gonna talk about used guns, okay? To show you how to get a new gun from a big box retailer that you can get in your car and go pick up. Now, you can also do this for some of these other online companies and have your gun shipped to what they call a FFL, right? A federal firearms licensing company, FFL. So anyway, you could do that. There's a lot of companies out there called Buds and um, Classic Firearms. A lot of big companies out there that do that. But I don't really recommend using them unless you're trying to get a gun that is really rare or no one else will have. The more you buy guns and go down this rabbit hole, you're gonna figure that out. That, oh, there's a gun I want, but Cabela's doesn't even carry it, right? So then you have to go to those companies because they will have it, and then you just have it shipped into your local gun store. Um, the local gun store is cool. Their prices, me personally, I don't have anything against the local gun stores, but I'll tell you some of the biggest issues I've had with purchasing firearms over the years is going to the local gun store. You're trying to see a gun. There's an idiot behind the counter who thinks he knows it all. He has a little gun on his hip, so he's a gun store commando. He probably didn't even make it out of basic training, but he talks as if he got deployed or something, or he's working the local jail at the county, and he portrays like he's a cop, right? Whatever. But he's a know-it-all, right? And then you walk in, he assumes you don't know shit about guns, and he has to tell you everything. It's like, no, it's fine. I just want to see this gun. No, you should look at this. It's like, wanted to look at that, I would ask to look at that. I actually want to look at this gun here, and and so it's like, whatever, dude. You go into Cabela's, you go into Academy. Like, these are companies that are, um, they're on the stock exchange, right? Like, they are big box companies. People, they're held to training standards and stuff like that. So, not saying you can't have a bad experience at those big box stores either, but it's like the level of customer service is just so much better than dealing with some jackass at the local gun store who thinks he knows it all, right? And because he's in a store full of guns all day, he's supposed to be the encyclopedia, but it's like, dude, I came here to see this gun. I might buy it. I just want to see the gun and go from there. Okay. But I'm not saying don't buy from your local gun store, but they're just limited, right? Like I remember one time when I was looking for a threaded barrel for my 1911s, right? So I went to a couple gun stores and they're like, "Oh, well, we don't carry stuff like that." And I was like, well, fucking gun store, why not? It's like, well, we would have to have barrels for all kind of. I was like, these are 1911s. Yeah, there's different variations of 1911s, but I mean, your gun store carry 4 or 5 variations. Even if I mean they can't be that expensive. I bought those barrels for like I don't know, it was like $50 online somewhere, right? And you're a gun store, you're probably getting a discount. I'm not saying to just buy stuff to keep it in stock and not sell it, but make it to where I can get the product and you can make some money. Or I may not be the only person looking for a threaded barrel for my 1911, right? Like there might be hundreds of guys, but you don't have it. So why would they come into your store, right? Or just little stuff like that. But there are some gun stores, they'll have certain items. You go in there, they're very helpful. And I found that the gun stores that are extremely helpful tend to be pawn shops, right? Like pawn shops, they sell guns. Some pawn shops will sell new guns, right? But it's very rare to catch a pawn shop who does sell new guns. Majority of the pawn shops are only going to sell used guns, and these are guns that they're getting from people who need some extra cash, right? So like Christmas just passed, people needed cash, pay their rent, buy stuff for their children, car note, whatever. So they're pawning guns. And so, when they don't come back for them, the pawn shop has like, I think, a grace period. Then they can resell the guns. Some of those guns are brand new, never been fired, right? You know, even if, but let me put this caveat: even if somebody tell you that the gun's never been fired, just assume that the gun has been fired a lot, right? But there are good deals that you can find in a pawn shop, new and used, and typically there there are people in working behind those counters who are very helpful, right? Um, in my opinion, more helpful than an actual gun store. It's crazy how that works. So, anyways, if you want to get a used gun, typically I would just say go to a pawn shop. Now, when you go to a pawn shop, you have to know what you're looking for because they work on commission in there. Most pawn shops, they work on commission. And you might find a guy who's really going to help you. Or you might just find somebody who's just trying to get a sale and go to the next customer, right? Because the more you're up here talking about these guns, the less money they're making. But you can come online to Bass Pro Shop, Cabela's, Academy, and you can figure out what it is that you're looking for and kind of have an idea. And then when you get to and then you'll see, oh, hey, well, that Cabela's has this Sig Sauer P365X macro semi-auto for $6.99, with X-ray 3 night sights, whatever. And you have in the back of your mind, or you wrote it down or took a screenshot that $6.99 brand new. When you get in that pawn shop, you're not wanting to pay brand new prices at a pawn shop for a used gun, right? Um, so you can negotiate. If a pawn shop's not willing to negotiate, then I probably wouldn't do business with them. Now, some pawn shops will say, hey, this is all I have in the gun. I can't go any lower. They'll be upfront with you in those regards, but typically they'll recommend another gun. Hey, I can't go any lower on this gun, but what I can do on the one next to it is XYZ. 'Cause, they ultimately they want your business, right? But that's typically how that goes. Um, it's super easy to do. It's not hard, but do your research. Getting your research done is very important, and having an idea of what it is that you want. Just like I said, most people they just walk into the store. They have no idea what they want. They've never held a gun before. They probably held, a friend's gun or a family member's gun, and they were just holding it, and they're more concerned of, you know, the feel, the weight. Let me not pull the trigger versus, no, let me look at this takedown lever. Let me look at the hammer. Let me, figure out this magazine, or, can I dry fire it? Let me check out the sights, stuff like that. And that's stuff that you can do when you go into the store. So, have your ID, make sure you're legally able to buy the gun, have money to buy the gun. Ask for ammunition when you buy it. A lot of these people behind the counter, they won't even recommend you buying ammo. That's crazy. Like, you're selling guns and then you don't even recommend getting a box of ammunition when you just sold a gun. But whatever, you know, have on your laundry list of things to get, um, a grocery list of get a holster for your gun, right? Get a lock box or a safe for it. If it's a brand new gun, it should come with a lock, right? And I think if they sell a used gun, they're supposed to give you a lock too, but I'm not sure about that. But you can always ask. Um, but in my last video I put out, I did kind of hint on that, where some of these sheriff departments in these counties, they will give you a free gun lock. You just got to go in and ask for it. But there's so many ways of doing this. If you like this content that I'm putting out and the information that I'm sharing, do me a favor and hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. We're doing some great things this year. I'm doing a lot more shooting content. I have my Cash App up, so if you want to support the channel, you can shoot me a Cash App. You can send me a email via my website. My website is in my profile on YouTube, and we'll go from there. But it's Gage Reality. I'm out. I just wanted to cover that with you guys. The 4473 form, along with how to buy the gun, and just kind of the things to expect when you do that, right? And safety gear. I didn't cover eye and ear protection. That's also important. And some of that stuff you can go to Dollar Tree and buy. Like, if you on a budget, you don't have a lot of money, Dollar Tree literally sells ear protection, and they sell safety glasses. Now, would I want to use those on a long term? No. I would definitely want to step my game up and get better equipment. But just to get you in the game, I think, just do that. But, you know, don't go cheap on your gun. That's first and foremost. All right, I'm out. Y'all have a good night.